Welcome to the Digital Customer Experience Podcast by Kiosk. My name is Daniel Paul, and I'm thrilled to bring you stories, insights, and expert opinions on the ever evolving world of digital customer experience. This podcast is brought to you by Kiosk. Kiosk is a leading SaaS company with a versatile B2B platform combining innovative products and services to drive success in sales, marketing, support, and customer engagement for major brands worldwide. Today, we have an amazing guest. I'm super thrilled to talk to him. He is a keynote speaker, AI executive, and thought leader who's made waves at Harvard, Google, and now at Novartis as the global head of marketing and Gen AI excellence. His name is Marco Andre. Marco is not only a strategic force in AI and digital marketing, but he has also published many books and he's a storyteller at heart. His innovative work and insights are empowering the fusion of AI with customer experience. And he's here to share his unique perspective on driving success in the digital age. Get ready for an inspiring conversation filled with practical insights from the forefront of AI. Welcome to our podcast, Marco.
Hi, Danielle. Thanks for having me.
Your incredible journey from Google's creative playground to Novartis' life-changing initiatives. What is one unexpected lesson you've learned that's as true for AI as it is for life?
It's interesting because I was always very concerned about knowing and knowing more and knowing more. And do I know my stuff? Do I know uh, what I'm required to do this job better and better and better? And I think with AI, what we know is not going to matter anymore. I think with the pace of how things are changing, one example is it took electricity 37 years to get to 50% of US households. It took 17 years for the internet to do the same. It took 10 months for ChatGPT to do that. So the pace of innovation and the democratization of knowledge that AI is bringing, no knowledge is not going to be so important anymore. I think what's going to be important is how curious we are, how hungry we are to learn, to adapt, to be creative, to almost asking the right questions rather than having the answers for everything. And that's how I grew up. I need to have the answers to the teacher or to the manager or to the company. I think now is way more about the questions that we ask. Yeah.
This is a question that you might have heard 100 or probably 1,000 times. People are asking this question always to everyone. Will AI replace us? What are your thoughts on that? And what should one do to get on the AI train? Because people are thinking, how do I get in? Where do I start? What's your
Mm.
answer for that?
So if it's going to replace us or not, I do not know. It's outside of my control. What I always tell people in my keynotes is, what can you do right now? I think right now AI is a superpower. So rather than thinking they're going to take over us, is how can we get into symbiosis with them to make us turn us into superhumans? So I think a bit what's happening is we're fearful because that's our nature as humans. But I want to focus more on the possibilities. I want to focus more on the possibilities of using AI for me to spend less time doing things that really don't matter. I want to spend my time designing a story or designing a product. I don't want to spend 7 hours doing a PowerPoint or aligning a font. That's what I want to spend my time with. So my advice to people is what I do myself, is just play with it and talk about it. Don't worry so much about being on top of all the tools that are. Just choose 2 or 3 tools and play with it. Don't worry too much about. We tell about prompting, which it became a very fancy word. Prompting is asking questions. Is giving, is almost like if you're talking with a kid and you say, give me an answer on this. This is the right answer or the wrong answer, and then it will give you a better answer or do a better action. So my advice is just try it. Just try it, use it, and make it work for you, because that's what's going to keep you engaged and at par with what's happening in the world with AI.
Yep. Considering your sabbatical project, the 100 Lego stories, If you had to describe AI's role in pharma with a Lego build, what would it look like?
Yeah, I think if you get the analogy of the bricks, I talk about the three things you need to do with AI, and I think that applies to pharma and other industries. The first thing is you need to actually think about what you need to buy to do something with AI. So buying is like you have a Lego set that comes in a box with instructions. That is the first thing you might do. What is you going to buy? So example, Copilot or ChatGPT. That's it.
Yeah,
Then the other thing that you need to think is what are you going to build? Okay, you have your own data, which is small Lego bricks. Okay, and you need to organize it in a way in which, using the power of a large language model, an LLM, you can organize the data. So that's the second strategic decision you need to make. And the third one, which I think is particularly interesting, is how do you get the best of a Lego that is already kind of half pre-built,
yeah,
but you need to stack your data on top of that, and you need to partner with someone. Let's imagine like provider X of CRM that
yeah.
already has adapted their LLM, for instance, for the pharma industry, and you plug in with that data, and you get the best of both worlds. That's the analogy I normally use.
Yeah. Talking about plugging into an external CRM or plugging into uh, the already existing marketing materials or the marketing softwares that you use, what are your must have AI tools that you believe everyone should be using?
Hmm. I'm getting that question now quite often. Listen, it's very easy to get overwhelmed with the pace of tools that are being for anything, for music, for coding, for voice, for image, for video. It's quite difficult. My go-to ones that I currently do not survive with is one, obviously, ChatGPT, which I use for everything from personal to professional things. I'll give you an example. The other day I was with someone and we were doing a workshop and we written in big whiteboards uh, conclusions of the workshop, and the person was typing as I would be doing. So I went to her and I said, "Listen, like, can I take a picture?" Said, "Yeah, of course." Took a picture with ChatGPT and asked, "Can you transcribe this to text?" Yeah, so that's a go-to. The other ones I really like to play with, obviously, I'm very much into creativity, is Midjourney and Runway ML, because I think it's from a creative standpoint, the ability that you have now to show what you want rather than tell it as a brief. For instance, you don't need to write a brief. You still need to write a brief to show who, what, how, why, how, but you can show to your agency some of the ideas that you have. And the other tools that, it varies a lot, but I really see the power on voice conversation. So I can see that, for instance, if I have to do some research, I can do it with Perplexity AI, for instance, because it gives me really actionable data. Or sometimes, to be honest, I'm just in the street, I'm walking and say, listen, I'm going to do this podcast, talk about AI, ChatGPT with voice. Can you give me some ideas? And I almost have like a bouncing back and forth. So those are the tools I normally use, but they're going at such a pace that what I like, the other day I tried Suno, for instance, for music to create a jingle for my class. And it was brilliant. I created a jingle in 30 seconds and I didn't even know that it was possible. I think the idea is just choose two or three and go really deep on them rather than just having to try 20 different tools.
I love the combination of tools that you use. So basically, you use ChatGPT, where it's used for ideation most of the cases, and to turn that ideas into image, you get into Midjourney, and to from that image to moving video or a moving image, you use Runway ML. I love the beautiful transition of softwares or
Mm,
the tools that you use. So I also saw that you are a top voice, artificial intelligence voice on LinkedIn. How important is the personal branding with regards to anyone that's in a leadership position, and
mm,
why do you think you are very active in showcasing your personal branding on LinkedIn.
Hmm. It's interesting because this personal branding thing is, listen, I started writing on LinkedIn 2 years ago, and for me, it was a way to, is always a vehicle for creative expression, to talk about something that matters deeply for me in a platform where I can reach people and build a community. Um, I never write about my company, by the way, on LinkedIn, or don't represent the views of the company. So it's purely personal. I think in these things we sometimes overdo it. The personal branding, it's more okay. Find something that you're really passionate about. In this case, I'm very, very passionate. I think we're living an incredible time, and in marketing is the biggest change of the last 30 years. So I do it because one, it gives me pleasure. It's purely selfish. Second, I can help other people. And third, specifically with AI, and obviously I write about other things, I think we are going about it the wrong way. I think we are very focused on the tech and the data, but what we're not focused on is the fact that we have millions of people to reskill and to learn these tools. The other day I was in a keynote and I went the day before to buy an old like Casio, an electronic uh, calculator, to illustrate the fact that it took us quite a while. I mean, it took me quite a while and to go from an electronic calculator to Excel,
Yeah,
right? So here is the same. If we don't teach people the most basic but boring examples of how this can save times in their lives, and that's what I'm trying to do now with my LinkedIn posts in AI, we're not going to be helping people.
yeah,
So does it have a collateral effect that I'm known for something?
yeah,
Yes. If we call that personal branding, yes. It also, at the same time, it might function as a way that some people, yes, they know me, but they don't care or they don't like what I stand for, which is
yeah,
also a risk. But
yeah.
for me, it's really important that I show up to the world in a way that is really consistent with what I'm passionate about. Yeah.
Makes sense. So, continuing on the same line, as the Gen AI champion at Novartis and outside the industry haven, how do you intend to bridge the current gap in marketing?
Hmm. Interesting. I was writing a post about that today. The gap in marketing is there's two things that we, there was this quote that I listened on Paul Rotzer's marketing podcast, marketing and AI podcast, just some Altman saying that in 2 years AI is going to do 95% of what marketers do, and agencies do, and people took it, okay, marketing is dead. I think those extreme quotes, they always signal something,
Yeah.
right? They normally don't, they're not fundamentally true. If you
Mm,
think about, we said email is dead, email is still here. We said that e-commerce is going to kill stores,
yeah.
stores are still here. We said that electronic books will kill paper books, and they're still here. So it's like things change, their function changes, and what that represents for marketing, to answer your question, is I think this is an opportunity to review what we have been doing in marketing, and
Mm,
is it really the soul of marketing?
yeah.
Because the soul of marketing is a great product and a great story brought to the right people.
Yeah.
And I think it's an opportunity for us to focus way more on that, on the stories we can tell as marketers in building great products, rather than focusing on other things that we have been focusing for the last few years because of obviously the digital revolution and what that implied. So that's what I tried to do in Novartis and outside the industry, focusing on the possibility and getting people to think how our work very tangibly on the day to day is going to change.
Yeah.
For instance, content production.
Yeah.
We can produce content 10 times faster, but
100%.
that can't be an excuse for us to produce content that's average and mediocre.
Yeah. Very, very well said. And one thing that I am wondering is like looking at 2024, there are a lot of issues that in the pharmaceutical industry, I believe AI can address. But you, as the forefront of AI and working in the pharmaceutical industry, what are the key issues that you think that AI can address?
Hmm. So I think on the applied AI side, there are different examples of using AI for instance, drug development. So that's part I technically I don't dominate, but I think is an incredible opportunity to, from the moment of uh, of development, we can. I mean, the average time to develop a drug is 10 years.
Yeah.
That's going to be most probably going to change dramatically with the use of applied AI. On the generative AI side, what you have is the go-to-market can be fundamentally different and much faster. Meaning you can go at light speed from something of an insight that you have from a conversation with a customer, from a patient, from a conversation with a partner or supplier, to produce content that is relevant to it, to push it to a channel that puts it in front of a lot of people, depending
Mm.
obviously of the local regulations, etc. So I think the biggest opportunity is obviously on the drug development, but on the go-to-market of pharma, it's also incredibly important that we adapt. If you think about some of the examples, uh, doctors, for instance, 17% of the time doctors spend is on admin work.
Yeah.
17%.
Yeah.
Imagine that if we AI, we reduce that to only 16%. How much time will we free up for doctors to
Yeah.
either see more patients or give more quality of attention to current patients or to be less burned out? So there's a
Yeah.
huge opportunity there.
Yeah. Just you've discussed some of the issues that AI can address. Which one do you think will have the most significant impact on the patient outcomes?
It's interesting. I was talking about the other day. There's a stat, I don't recall the stat right now, but a lot of the issues that we have in certain drugs in general is patient adherence to treatment, right?
Yeah.
And think about it now. Imagine if you go to older population, which sometimes is difficult, or they don't have anyone to take care of them. I think is going to be a future, even if you don't have the OpenAI robot that they released yesterday, even if you just have some form of GPT assistant in
Yeah.
which they can have a pivotal support to get patients to adhere, or reminder to take, or imagine a reminder to take medication. Or if you start arguing with GPT assistant, oh, I don't want to take the medication anymore. Or if you have side effects, a discussion before talking with your doctor or after talking with your doctor, in case, and we can't have only an European centric. We mustn't forget that a lot of people in the US, for instance, they don't have access to a doctor.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a fundamental uh, support that some of these GPT assistants can give. Obviously, there's a lot of ethical and legal
100%.
discussions that we need to have, and so obviously I won't get into that. That's a very important thing to consider. But I think the potential is enormous. Yeah.
It's funny that you gave the example of GPTs. My dad's living back in India. I went to visit him a couple of months ago, and I introduced ChatGPT to him, and I said you could take a picture from your phone and ask what's this. So he actually went to the doctor, and in India, the doctor give you the diagnosis, and you have to go meet the physician after a couple of days. So he couldn't wait. He took a picture and he asked ChatGPT, "What does this mean? So what do I need
Mm,
to do for the next 2 3 days?" He's 70 years old, but him being able to use this actually gives him
mm,
a sense of relief that okay, it's
mm,
not as serious as I thought. I can just
right.
relax for 2 days. I can wait. So the implications, or for a patient who doesn't have a lot of knowledge, is already so
Hmm.
much in the market. I can only wait
Yeah.
to see what the pharmaceutical industry is going to come up with. That's going to make the whole patient's lives much easier.
Yeah, 100%. That's a beautiful story because I think we very quickly go to the extreme again. Oh, doctors are going to disappear and people cannot self-diagnose themselves. That's not what we're saying at all.
Yeah.
It's in everyone's interest that they have access to information. Patients have better access to information. Doctors have better access to information. I mean, I remember this. I have friends that were doctors and they always need to be studying. It's
Yeah.
incredible. It's literally studying for 10 or 15 years just to graduate and then studying their whole lives. I think there's huge potential on that. Yeah.
Yep. So, getting a little bit back to the marketing now. So, where do you see the pharmaceutical marketing heading by 2030, and what will be at the core of omni-channel strategies? I know it's a very long-sighted question, but what do you think will
Mm.
happen?
And at the pace things are going, if you think about it, we started talking about generative AI 16 months ago, and look how the world has changed. It's changing. So 2030 is a long time. I think we need to start preparing for 2030 now, and in a couple of things. One, when you think about omni-channel, I think you're going to see, I'm starting to see my behavior changing dramatically, my search behavior and my research behavior switching dramatically to GPTs. So that is going to make that there's going to be whole new disciplines like um, chatbot SEO, for instance,
Yeah.
in which you need to make sure that whenever someone asks information about your company, your drug, or your indication, that content is properly surfaced. So it's not that we're going completely towards convergence, but I think we're moving from omni-channel towards convergence of people having one form of Jarvis-like assistant where they're going to get all information. The second thing is we are producing so much medical content that the pace is just incredible and it's just not digestible.
Mm.
What we need to do is to get much better at identifying what's being asked by HCPs and patients and turn it into something they can digest very quickly and in front of them.
Yeah.
So when we talk about personalization at scale, I don't care so much that people know my name or they know what I like. I care that they produce something very quickly that addresses a question that helps me on my day job.
Yeah.
That's the second thing. And I think the other thing is I really think there's an access story in all of this. There's an access story in which you can, as a first line, for instance, I'll give you an example. In the US, there's a lot of people that don't have access to doctors or therapists, and they're using GPTs to get a first line of discussion or if they're feeling anxious. And those people, okay, you can say, yeah, but they shouldn't be doing that. They should talk with a proper doctor. Well,
Mm.
what if they can't afford it or they can't
Mm.
find it or it's not available? I think there's a really important access of care to patients. That is something we need to definitely enable and help and support people to get there.
Yep. What are the aspects do you think pharmaceutical industry is currently overlooking?
In generative AI
Overall or in generative AI?
overall,
Yeah.
I don't think it's so much overlooking. I think we are underestimating in pharma, in pretty much any industry and in governments, how much effort we have to reskill everyone for the age of AI. So the Singapore government announced 2 weeks ago they're going to give a subsidy to every person over 40 to go and reskill because of how much AI is impacting the world. And that's a tremendous initiative of I read this on a CNBC, this stat that of all the companies that are investing in tech and data and AI, only 38% are investing in their workers
Mm.
training. So I think that's we as an industry, outside the industry, even in the both professional and personal world, it's what we need to do and invest dramatically. I think it's not that we're overlooking, but we're not remembering that these tools are going to fall in a lot of people's laps. And if we don't show them the possibility, they're going to fall flat. Yeah.
And what do you believe should be the first step that the industry should take to address this oversight?
I think we need to talk about it and get the right sense of urgency on it. It's it's one thing to be one person to talk about it. The other one is two people. Suddenly, it's a crowd of talking about it and asking. I don't think this is about, saying, oh, the big bad executives, only 38% of them invest. It's just going and telling them and asking for support. And the other thing that I think we can do is, I was writing about the fact that the Pope appointed an AI guy. There's a New York Times
All right.
article with that, and and it's quite interesting. This Father Benanti, I think, and to deal with all the ethics and to think about everything that AI is implying for the industry, not for the industry, sorry, for not only what the Vatican oversees, but for Italy, what's happening. And I was thinking, if even the Pope needs an AI guy, we either need to find in our organizations an AI guy and give him or her the ability to fly and to teach other people. And if we look around and there's no AI guy, maybe we should become the AI guy. I
Yeah.
think that's
Well,
what we need to do.
well said. Well said. So it all comes down for us to this podcast, in this podcast, to customer experience. So we are caring about customer
Mm.
experience, what the industries can give towards the customer's experience with the changing and the evolving AI and other technologies. So my question is, how does customer experience in the pharma industry will get transformed for the good?
Hmm. I think we have the short answer is content, is producing content that is relevant. We think when we are talking with a patient or an healthcare professional, we think we're competing for um, space or mental space with our competitors, but we are not. We are competing for attention,
Yeah.
which nowadays is incredibly scarce.
Yeah.
So if you have a doctor that sees 10 people in 5 hours and then has a break for 5 minutes to get some food, do some admin, will he or she really want to read an email that we send it to them that is about us?
No.
No, I think it's about them.
Yeah.
I think we have an opportunity to, obviously within the guardrails of not only regulation, but also um, patient confidentiality and HCP confidentiality, to be way better at identifying what they need and turn that into something useful for
Yeah.
them. I'll give you an example. I was in a presentation in Barcelona, and we were talking about exactly that. The moment people are searching in these GPTs, doctors, about questions, we can, obviously, a non-personal level, understand what are the questions that are coming and provide much better answers. I
Yeah.
think that completely redefined the customer experience in pharma and how we actually add value to our customers and patients.
So the next question that I have for you, I have a very special magic wand in my hand, and I'm
Mm.
going to pass that over to you. So this magic wand has a superpower of solving one big problem. So if you were to solve one big problem in the pharmaceutical industry, what would it be and why?
Moving everyone from the fear of generative AI to possibility and usefulness. I think it's been just so fast, how this has been evolving, that as humans, and I do the same, our first instinct is fear, obviously. Will this going to replace it? Is this going to change? Is this going to be bad for the industry? I would like to move everyone. And I think that comes with getting people excited about it. It doesn't come only with use cases and the perfect tech and the perfect data. It comes with training people, with making them see the possibility and the most tangible examples on their day to day. And if we do that, we are going to make people going from a point of no, 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 no to yes is useful, and then make it work for us with regulation that we need, discussing the ethical considerations, of course, but that's where I would like to move everyone.
Marco, thank you so much for your time. And it is amazing that you have opened the opportunity for the listeners why they should embrace AI and what are the possibilities of using AI, not just in the pharmaceutical industry, but in every industry they are a part of. And you also spoke about the importance of trying new stuffs. And if they wanted to try new stuffs, you also gave them 3 tools that they could start with initially. So I think our viewers really appreciate your guidance, your feedback, and your insights. And we from Kiosk's podcast would love to thank you for this opportunity that you gave us.
Thank you so much for having me, Daniel.
And for viewers, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth discussions on the Digital Customer Experience podcast. Drop us a comment below with your thoughts or any questions that you might have for Marco. Until next time, stay curious and keep innovating. This is Daniel Paul from Kiosk.